Welcome to the channel. Dave Greathouse, realtor with RE/MAX Above and Beyond and the Greathouse team here in Cleveland. So let's talk seller's market. What is it? Well, in short, it's just a lot more buyers than there are sellers, and that creates competition. Competition for showings, competition for offers. So how do we get your offer to the top of that list? Let's get started. Buying a home in a seller's market can be a real challenge. So how do you get your offer accepted? I'm going to give you 5 tips. Okay, tip number 1 is be prepared, and that means financially. So if you're going to be using financing, you're going to want to make sure you have a pre-approval letter before you start looking at houses. This will kind of give you an idea for what you can afford in your budget, your interest rate, how much you need for closing costs, and that way you're not wasting time looking at houses maybe you can't afford, or perhaps you can afford more house than you originally thought. If you're going to be a cash buyer, you'll want to make sure you have a proof of funding statement. That way you're ready to prepare to make your offer. Tip number 2, if you're in a multiple offer situation, don't offer under asking price. Last year in Cleveland, there were 17,000 transactions and the average sale price was 102% of the list price. So that tells you right there that most things are selling over the list price. Now, how high should you offer over the asking price? Listen, I've written offers up to 10, 15% over asking. It's a great conversation to have with your realtor about what might make sense, what might be acceptable, and what actually might be too high. Tip number 3, the terms of your offer are equally as important as the amount of your offer. Believe it or not, it's not always the highest amount that gets the offer accepted. So let's talk terms. For instance, let's say that the seller of the house you're interested in purchasing needs additional time post-closing to live in the house. You could offer them a free rent for maybe 30 days while they make their transition to their new home. Or if you're purchasing a vacant home, maybe you want to close on that a lot quicker so that the seller gets their money faster. Also, things like your loan type and your earnest money deposit, all of those things can make a difference in your offer. Tip number 4 is an appraisal gap, and this really only applies to you if you're using financing for your purchase. As part of any mortgage, the bank is going to order an appraisal, and that's to estimate the value of the home. Let's say that value, the appraised value, comes in short of the agreed upon purchase price. Well, that little section there is called an appraisal gap. And you as the buyer have the option to kick cash towards that to the seller at closing if you're willing to do so. And if you're willing to make up a significant chunk of that, you'll want to let the seller know ahead of time as part of your offer. And tip number 5, think outside the box, right? Find out what the seller wants and do your best to give it to them. This is where it's important to have your realtor reach out to their realtor and have that conversation. For example, I recently had a buyer offer to help pay for some of the seller's moving expenses. Or perhaps the seller wants to leave behind some personal items that you're okay with taking care of when they leave. Whatever it is, do your best to make sure that they understand you're willing to work with them and accommodate their needs. So there you go, my 5 tips for help getting your offer accepted in a seller's market. If you have other tips that might be successful for you, be sure to leave them in the comments section down below. Also, if you found value in the video, give us a quick like and subscribe. And as always, reach out to me directly if you need help finding or selling your great house.